Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. This is Josie's Point of View, where we focused on human interest stories throughout the Carolinas. Today is Saturday, and it's February the 6th, 2021. Thank you so much for tuning in. Our story today comes from Fort Bragg here in North Carolina. Take a look at the headline. And it reads, How Fort Bragg Failed Private Caleb Smither and His Family. I'll provide you with a summary, and I'll place links to a few of the full articles in the description box. What I'm about to share with you may seem a bit unbelievable, and I have to say that I was really outraged by this story when I first heard about it, and I really don't believe it has received the attention it deserves. So I've decided to share it with my audience because it deals with a mother's grief about losing her son after he had been at Fort Bragg for just about 8 weeks, and the lack of response she has received from the Fort Bragg leadership regarding his death. For those of you who follow military news, you may have seen a headline but never understood the real story behind it. In fact, I know there have been so many stories with similar headlines that it's easy for some of them to have gotten overlooked. But this one really touched my soul. It dates back to January the 22nd of last year, when we learned about another soldier from Fort Bragg who was found dead in his barracks. We also learned at that time that the military was investigating the circumstances surrounding the soldier's death, and that seemed to be the standard PR statement when a soldier is found dead. But beyond that, very little information is normally released. By the next day, we learned the soldier's name. He was Private Second Class Caleb Smither, 19-year-old native of Lubbock, Texas. According to the news brief released by Fort Bragg, Private Smither joined the Army in May of 2019, and he arrived at Fort Bragg to begin his first duty assignment in December of 2019. So at the time of his death in January of 2020, he had been at this assignment less than 8 weeks. This is what's so unbelievable about this case. Private Smither was found dead on January the 21st. However, it is believed that he was dead in his barracks room for approximately 5 to 6 days before anybody found him. And his remains were so decomposed that his mother could not have an open review of his body at a funeral. I spent several weeks researching this story and reviewing interviews done by his mother, and I want to take just a few minutes to share with you what I've been able to find out. So Private Smither worked as a 91 Lima, and that's a construction equipment repairer or mechanic. And somehow between January the 9th and January the 14th, the date is still unclear, he struck his head on a military vehicle. I believe the report stated he struck his head on the radiator of a Humvee, which is a big military vehicle. And how that happened is really confusing. And it's also a bit unclear as to exactly what happened immediately after that injury. But according to his mother, he initially reported to the emergency room at Fort Bragg, which is Womack Army Medical Center, and it was alleged that he was turned away and told he needed to make an appointment to see his primary care provider. Now, that makes no sense at all, because I just can't imagine a soldier with a head injury. He's reporting to the emergency room and being sent away. Now, I'm not saying it did not happen, but I am saying it makes absolutely no sense, because he would need to call and schedule an appointment to see his primary care provider, and that was not going to happen immediately. It was going to take at least a couple of days. And according to what has been reported, Private Smither reported the injury to his command, and the command placed him on quarters, which means they essentially told him to go back to his barracks for a specific time, and that's where he was supposed to stay and rest. And at some point in the future, he was to have a follow-up with his primary care provider. But during the next 48 hours, he made 2 separate visits to the emergency room, complaining of headaches, nausea, and sensitivity to light. And he went there on the 14th, and then he went again on the 15th. They gave him some medication and released him back to his barracks. And that day, January the 15th, appears to be the last day that anyone can recall seeing Private Smither alive. And it does not appear as if anybody realized he was missing either, because they surely did not bother to check on his whereabouts. Seemed to me that if a soldier is missing, the first place you would be checking is the place where he lives, and that's his barracks. But that was not the case, because on January 21st, Private Smither was found dead in his barracks room on Fort Bragg. He had been dead for approximately 5 or more days, and his body was already mummified. In other words, it was in the fifth stage of decomposition, and that's the condition in which the young soldier was returned to his mother without any explanation. However, she was not made aware of the state of her son's body until 1 week later, as she was planning an open casket viewing for his funeral. That's how she found out that due to the advanced state of decomposition of her child, an open casket was not possible. And now it's 1 year later, and Mrs. Heather Baker, which is Private Smither's mother, continues to reach out to the Fort Bragg leadership for answers, and they have yet to come. So I want to spend a few minutes speaking for her, using her own words, because she has so many questions for which no one seems to be willing to answer. And she states as follows. I ordered Caleb phone records and found some interesting correspondence between him and other soldiers on the 15th of January, which means the 15th she knew for a fact that he was alive. The Army told me from day one that they were never able to access Caleb's phone, which I found to be untrue. Why can't we be translucent if we're on the same team? Where's the accountability? What happened to the battle buddy system? What about Oak Tree counseling, where soldiers are required to be face to face to do accountability checks? Where is the accident report for when Caleb hit his head? Wasn't he supposed to be wearing a helmet? I was told by other 91 lemurs that was a requirement. I was told that the command is up to whoever is working that day. Mrs. Baker continues, what about the Army values? What about the Paratrooper Creed? My goal is not to shut down any military base. My goal here is to bring back Oak Tree counseling and accountability checks. My message to all of our patriots is to please be valiant leaders, leading with integrity and empathy. If we wouldn't leave a soldier behind on the battlefield, why leave them behind in the middle of an Army base with literally thousands of battle buddies all around? Very good question. And after so many months, I still have no real answers. We're all eagerly awaiting to find out what really happened. This is such a sad story, and it's really one that no parent should have to deal with. But I must say that all of the questions are valid ones. For me, I would be especially interested in knowing why how he was able to hit his head on that Humvee, and exactly what's transpired during his first visit to that emergency room. And how come nobody checked on him for so many days? I believe I read somewhere that she's now working with one of her congressmen and some other outside agencies to try to find out exactly what happened in that barracks where her son died. But it's now 12 months, and it's probably safe to say that the leadership has probably moved on to other priorities, and that this mother may never get the answers she's been looking for. She hasn't been able to get them right now, so maybe it takes someone at a different level to realize that she's still out there and she's still waiting for some type of explanation. And that's all I have for you right now. Feel free to leave me a comment below and let me know what you think about this video. And by all means, feel free to like and to share. And if you haven't done so already, I want to invite you to subscribe to my channel by clicking on that red subscribe button on the bottom right-hand corner of your screen. And if you click on this notification bell right here, you'll be the first to know whenever a new video is uploaded. I thank you for watching, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye.